Hello everyone, welcome back into the studio for more on drawing. This is the second and final part of our series on drawing the skull. Today is mostly going to be about refining the line drawing and adding values. So let's get into it. As this is the beginning of a new day for me here in the studio, we're going to use what we often call the fresh eyes to make some decisions about our line work that we've done in the last episode before committing to it and adding value. Committing to it in this instance means adding value, of course, which in the beginning is not going to be truly committing, but it's going to slowly begin to make our drawing less flexible and easy to change. I like to take the beginning of a new day to warm up a bit with some work that's not adding something new right off the bat, instead looking to improve what is there for a few minutes. Some quick tips for getting the effect of the fresh eye without actually being fresh-eyed. Looking at your drawing in the mirror is going to be super useful in order to get a fresh perspective. In digital drawing and painting, the artist will often flip the canvas to get the same effect, but in the real world we can do this by looking at the drawing in reference through a mirror. I'll usually carry a small handheld mirror when I draw, so that I can do this when I need to. It's often very useful when something seems off but you can't quite figure out what it is or why. A big trap to avoid here is straightening out parts of your drawing, which we humans tend to do naturally, it seems. So to avoid this, look for the relationships between angle breaks on either side of a form. For example, this form here on the lateral edge of the eye socket seems to be a nice example, but you'll find plenty throughout the entire skull. Notice how the angle breaks on either side of this form don't line up with each other. They sit at an angle to each other. Capturing this keeps the drawing from becoming stiff and awkward looking. Capturing this also adds rhythm throughout the drawing, and this is needed for the drawing to look organic and natural. So what is the shadow edge? Since we're working on a subject with one light source, meaning it's lit from essentially one lamp or from the natural light from above, which is a lighting setup that I'd recommend since it's conducive, especially in the beginning, to making drawings that look good. Because of this, we will have a line that runs along our skull here that separates light from shadow, just like we have a shadow edge on a sphere when it's lit from one angle. We're going to have the same phenomenon here, but since our form, the skull, is more complex than a sphere, the shadow edge has to become more complex as well. Thinking about the direction of the light and trying to understand this is important and can help you avoid some rather silly mistakes. The angle of these three parts of the shadow edge on this particular skull and this particular lighting condition are dead giveaways as to the direction of the light source. I'll use a 2H pencil here so that I can keep the shadow edge lighter than the outline of the skull. I used the 2H to create the outline of the skull as well, but with a bit more pressure applied and going over the same line multiple times. Whereas in the outline I crafted every line carefully using both pencil and eraser, with the shadow edge I try not to get so specific since it should look and feel a bit more blurry almost. You can differentiate between form shadows and cast shadows, letting the cast shadows have a little bit of a sharper edge to them. These are form shadows where the form slowly turn away from the light. And these are examples of cast shadows where the form is blocking a section from the light and casting a shadow onto it. Cast shadows can be soft as well, and the quality of the shadow edge from a cast shadow depends on how close to the reason for the shadow being cast you are. Further away from the reason and the line becomes a bit softer, and if we're closer, the line is a bit sharper. If we're doing this right, we'll be using straight lines to describe the edges of the shadow, just like we used straight lines and angle breaks to describe the line drawing of the skull. This adds another layer of complexity to our drawing, which we can now use to compare further to get more accurate line work as well as more accurate shadow edges. The shadow edge becomes a secondary line within our drawing, which we can further compare things against, and this is why we don't slap a bunch of value in there right away. Values, or filling in the darks, would make things harder to change at this moment, so in order to keep the process at the forefront here, we're going to work on the shadow edge first and use it for what it's worth, before putting values inside the shadow edge and visually separating the light from the darks. Not only line, but also a set of new shapes appear on our drawing when we do this. These shapes can then be compared against the reference, so we can ask ourselves how these shapes fit into the whole of our drawing that we've created. Compare the heights to the widths of shapes, and if something doesn't fit as it should, it might give you some insight into how to improve the line drawing further as well. The first values can now be added into the drawing, inside the shadow edge of course. Reference the subject and make sure you add the shadow value on the right side of the shadow edge, as all these lines everywhere can get a bit confusing and overwhelming sometimes. Keep your tongue straight in your mouth while doing this. At some point here, we'll double the speed of this section since it's a lot of the same for a little bit. I'm using a 2H pencil here to apply the value. This is a conservative move and will make things slow as compared to using a darker pencil. And the reason that I'm doing it is important, I think. And the reason is I'd like to keep the shadow edge at a darker value compared to the value inside the shadow, just by a little bit. There is a reason for doing things this way. It's a bit scientific perhaps, but stay with me here. As we turn from light towards the shadow, there is a section of the form that is going to be perpendicular to the light source and perpendicular to the surface the object is resting on. This is important because light from above, from our single light source, hits the table or whatever your subject is resting on. Say it's a skull, it's resting on a table, right? And it's going to bounce back up into the shadows of the skull. This is called bounce light, and you can see it in our sphere here. There is this part of the shadow which doesn't face the light source or the direction of the bounce light, and this is the shadow edge. And since it receives no light from the light source and no light bouncing off the surface below our subject, it becomes the darkest part of the shadow itself. To begin with, the values inside your shadows should be fairly flat, meaning with little variety. All the shadow values should be the same, and the application should be even. One way to achieve this is to maintain an even pressure on the tip of your pencil, and of course to use the same grade of pencil for all the shadows. With the shadow value laid in, it's time to go back and further separate the shadow edge from the value inside the shadow themselves. This helps clarify the shadow edge and ensures that our drawing doesn't get lost. It also helps us bring the values within the shadows themselves further down the value scale, which just means make them darker. But remember, we want to maintain the relationship between shadow edge and shadow value throughout the whole process. So this means going back over the shadow edge and making it darker first before darkening the shadow value. I remember often feeling like my drawing got lost around these steps when I was a student. Like you lost sort of track of where you were or the good work that you had already done. And partially I think it's because I didn't spend enough time making sure the drawing was accurate enough to begin with, and that was exposed at this point. But also partially it happens because you sort of lose some of those relationships between the shadow edge and shadow value that you should try to maintain throughout the entire process. As a beginner, exercising control over your drawing is vital. Controlling it helps you understand the factors at play and gives you confidence that you can arrive at a certain result repeatedly. Getting there by accident or by spending tons of time and getting lots of feedback that sort of nudge you in the right direction is not going to necessarily lead to confidence or a deep understanding of the things that make a drawing go. Only research and practice can help you acquire confidence. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. If you keep watching to the end of the video, that is. And if you don't, thank you for watching through most of the video. I hope you learned a thing or two that you can take with you into your own practice. Please let me know what you thought about the video in the comments below. And until next time, stay creative.